This special ministerial plenary session at the second CII India-Europe Business and Sustainability Conclave organized by the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India and the Confederation of Indian Industry. To begin this very special session, I'd like to begin by inviting Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General, Confederation of Indian Industry, to give his remarks, please.
A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome. I'll start by welcoming our chief guest of the afternoon, Shri Piyush Goyal, the Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Foods and Public Distribution and Textiles of the Government of India. Honorable Minister, a very warm welcome to you for the second time, for the second forum of the India-EU Business and Sustainability Conclave. With him, as you see, ladies and gentlemen, and I have the pleasure of welcoming the Federal Minister of Labour and Economy from the Republic of Austria. We have the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Trade from Hungary, the Honourable Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of the Slovak Republic, the Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Republic of Latvia, His Excellency the Honourable Minister of State of the Federal Foreign Office of Germany, and of course the Honourable Minister of State for Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, United Nations and the Commonwealth, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, the FCDO of the United Kingdom, and the Secretary of State of the Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland. Excellencies, ambassadors, senior government officials from all our European partners, the Government of India, our guests from the business community from Europe and from India, the CII President who's leading the business from the Indian side, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, indeed such a pleasure to see 300 plus European government and business participants staying on for the last 1.5 days engaged so strongly with this forum. And it's indeed a pleasure and honor to welcome, in spite of the schedule that one is having, the Honourable Minister of our Commerce and Industry, who's been spearheading with the Indian industry global trade and economic relationships across many areas. Our engagement has been very deep from the industry with him, his inputs, his advice and his, in fact, leadership with the business delegations, large business delegations, sometimes at very short notices, because that's how he sort of decides to sometime go and help us build relationships and business linkages across the country. So we understand the huge pressure of his time and sincerely thank him for this engagement and welcome you, Honourable Minister, Mr. Goyal, for this giving us, and in fact he was the one who told us that institutionalized this session last year, and it was his continuous engagement in seeing that we are able to enhance this relationship. We have got this phenomenal response once again from Europe. So once again, welcome you, Honourable Minister Goyal, for being with us this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have here the foreign and the trade ministers, as I mentioned, from Austria, Hungary, Slovak Republic, Latvia, Germany, UK and Poland. And they have been engaged. The others also who were present yesterday were engaged very deeply with their bilaterals with our government, but also with the business community. And we really acknowledge and thank you for that. Honourable Ministers from other countries, we just wanted to mention that we are coming to the grand finale of deep engagements over 11 thematic sessions, ministerial dialogues that we have seen happening, 4 country sessions specifically that we had, and a large number of B2B meetings. And I have with me the number, which is 370 odd B2B business engagements in the last 1.5 days. So this was outstanding. And we had a few focus areas which we really nurtured upon. One was, of course, technology related manufacturing like telecom, smart manufacturing, pharmaceuticals and healthcare. Second, of course, the huge emphasis that we saw on sustainability and renewable energy by our European friends all across, and engaging on this entire piece of climate sustainability and looking at how we can collaborate and work together. The third was, again, very, very important discussions for surrounding around technology and innovation hubs, and India's technology prowess was well discussed between our members. And the fourth area, which was again important, was the SMEs, but specifically startups, and the achievements in India on how we have our startups really today linked with the rest of the globe, and how we can collaborate was another very strong feature of our engagement, along with the engagement in the trade side of our MSMEs, the small and the medium companies. And lastly, we just wanted to say that the engagements with what we have also discussed are projects which we can really look from businesses to jointly do together in terms of pilot projects, so that next time when we meet, and the idea was to even do it somewhere in Europe, this conclave, we are able to report back on how we have been able to take some of these projects forward. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome you to this very special and the final session, the valedictory session of such an important conclave of India and Europe. Thank you and welcome once again.
May I now invite Mr. R. Dinesh, President, Confederation of Indian Industry and Chairman, TVS Supply Chain Solutions, to give his remarks, please.
Sri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Excellencies, dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, let me add my good afternoon and welcome to all of you to the plenary session of the conclave. I think we do know that India has stood out as not only the fastest growing economy, but as the economy which is focused on the two pillars of ease of doing business and cost of doing business. And the infrastructural support which has been created for that is going to make a huge difference. It is in this background that the India-Europe business relationship has witnessed significant growth, and it has now transcended the traditional sectors to get into the new age, and I would call it the need of the hour for making a life a better earth a better and have a better life in future. The free trade negotiations which are going on between the India, EU and EFTA is something which we believe will hold immense potential to make these economic ties even faster growing and deepen it further, especially for access to our medium and small scale enterprises, and help it reach further heights. We know that both from an Indian company's perspective and European businesses perspective, India and Europe have been an attractive investment destination for both investment as well as technology collaboration. This is now reached to the advanced infrastructure, preparing a skilled workforce, and especially the digitization and innovation has been a sustainable focus area. In this, I would like to highlight 4 specific areas. First is the ability to look at how we are looking at the green hydrogen production capacity, which we believe it will require close to about 8 trillion of investments by 2030 in the India context, and also from being able to create number of jobs, which is something which I think both India and Europe can look forward to. In this, how do we look at a green hydrogen corridor which can make this not just from a supply chain perspective, but also from a utilization perspective, a growth area. The second is this recycling and circular economy. India's ambitious goal of eliminating single-use plastics and Europe's circular economy plan is something which has stood out for as targets which have been achieved and which have made a difference to the earth. Is there a business opportunity which we can further exploit to make that happen? We know that in terms of economic cooperation, both India and European countries can look at the IMEC corridor as an opportunity to create a new partnership, especially for the medium and small scale enterprises of both the economies to work together and create a new future. In that, I think it's important that we make sure that not only through conclaves like this, but on an ongoing basis, we make sure the business to business partnership of the medium and small scale enterprises are encouraged and made to happen. We know that there has been this significant focus on new technology areas, and during our discussions with the various countries, we have come across various options of including starting from semiconductors to developing the supply chains where India can become part of not just the global value chains, but a special partner for European companies and European countries. Therefore, we are very excited by what is happening today, and we genuinely believe that we are laying the foundation for this partnership to prosper and help businesses and economies prosper together, considering the opportunities which we have. I look forward to the discussions being translated into ground level actions, and I would like to add my special thanks and congratulations to all those who have made this possible, including the teams from the various countries and especially the team which is put together to make this happen. Thank you, and look forward to continuing this journey in future.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. I now invite His Excellency Dr. Tobias Linner, Minister of State, Federal Foreign Office, Federal Republic of Germany, to give his special address.
Excellencies, colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and namaste. India's journey towards prosperity is nothing short of amazing achievements. If one only looks back at 2023, it is full of many great success stories for India, of which I shortly wish to mention only a few. While India became the most populous country in the world, it has risen to become the 5th largest economy in the world, and it continues its impressive path of growth and transformation into a global powerhouse despite otherwise economically turbulent times. As one of the most popular, most important international actors, India hosted the G20 summit, marking its first and very successful presidency. The summit witnessed historic achievements, including the membership of the African Union in the G20, showing India's influence on the global stage. And at the same time, India successfully reached for the stars. The landing of the lunar lander, Chandrayaan-3 on the moon, captured the attention of the whole world, as only 3 other nations so far in mankind's history were able to do what India did. I wish to congratulate you on these historic achievements. Germany is India's long-standing partner. Our partnership is reaching far back, and not merely one of economic exchange and political cooperation, but one of an enduring and growing friendship between our nations. Over the years, our cooperation has flourished, surpassing borders and enriching both our societies. 2023 saw an unprecedented number of high-level German governmental visits to India, underscoring the wide scope and depth of our bilateral relations. Notably, India welcomed 9 German ministerial visits, as well as Federal Chancellor Olaf Scholz. And economically, India stands as one of the most crucial partners for Germany, with bilateral trade and investment reaching unprecedented highs. Despite the challenges posed by the global pandemic, our economic cooperation has flourished. Today, over 2,200 German companies thrive in India, having created more than 600,000 jobs over the years in India and contributing to India's economic growth and transformation. Our bilateral trade has exceeded 30 billion euros. However, we are determined to grow our economic relations much further, as we see enormous potential for mutual growth in the fields of renewable energy, transport infrastructure, sustainable economy. Understanding and working towards sustainability in business and the economy as a motor for innovation, growth, and opportunity in business shall be key to further our bilateral economic relations. But our strategic partnership stretches far beyond economic and political cooperation. India and Germany are working hand in hand to tackle climate change and to achieve sustainable growth and development. This is by far the greatest challenge of our time, and we see India as our indispensable partner in this endeavor. We are particularly proud of our joint climate action. With the Green and Sustainable Development Partnership, Germany commits around 1 billion euros annually for common sustainable projects. This flagship project stands witness to common level of ambition and commitment that Germany and India have in this field. And as we look ahead, 2024 looks promising. We are looking forward to our German-Indian intergovernmental consultations scheduled for the fall, where we aim to further enhance our collaboration across various sectors. Moreover, the Asia-Pacific Conference of German Business in New Delhi in October will provide a platform to focus on bolstering our trade and investment relations. And on the European level, we believe that the ongoing negotiations for an EU-India free trade agreement hold immense potential to amplify trade and foster great economic integration. While these negotiations present challenges, my country remains determined to find a swift and favorable compromise. And I'm sure that our European as well as our Indian partners are equally invested in this common goal, as the FTA will unlock gigantic private sector investments in India's manufacturing and service industries. It will inextricably link two of the world's most thriving ecosystems of technological innovation and will provide access for Indian businesses to the world's largest single market. And even more so, it will underpin a human bridge between India and its sister continent, Europe. So, my dear friends, let me conclude by reaffirming our dedication to our partnership with India, which is rooted in shared values, mutual respect, and the pursuit of shared sustainable prosperity. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I'd now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Władysław Tofil Bartoszewski, Secretary of State, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Republic of Poland, to address us, please.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me express my sincere gratitude to the Ministry of External Affairs of India and to the Confederation of Indian Industry for such a superb initiative of organizing the second India-Europe Business and Sustainability Conclave and for being excellent hosts. In the current geopolitical challenges of the world faces today, it is crucial we forge new links, establish cooperation and understanding between India and Europe. Strong business relationships between our countries and regions based on mutually beneficial engagements are crucial to the development and well-being of our countries and citizens. They will also help to limit the malicious intent of some actors who sow distrust, chaos and threats in the area of global economic cooperation. During this event, I had the opportunity to take part in a panel discussion, where we exchanged views on digital transformation, including the security of critical infrastructure. I had also the singular pleasure to preside over a Polish roundtable and present innovative solutions offered by Polish high-tech companies in key sectors such as IT, cybersecurity, green technologies, the future of transport, and even space. I'm quite proud of the showcase technologies, and I'm confident that these solutions will find the recognition among our Indian partners and be the basis of deeper cooperation between our companies in the near future. There's one more element that I cannot forget to mention in this brief intervention. This year, we celebrate the 70th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations between India and Poland. Both our countries insist on observing the rule of law, international treaties, and respecting sovereignty and independence of all countries. Our countries and companies have been long-term partners in such areas as trade, investment, defense, and science. It is therefore unsurprising that India is the second biggest location for Polish direct investments in Asia. Similarly, Poland is a country with a great business opportunities for Indian entrepreneurs and investors. Poland's economy is dynamic, open to foreign capital and new solutions, and Indian companies are more than welcome to invest in Poland. Poland and India have much to offer to each other, including the area of advanced technologies, as we witnessed during this conclave. I hope that the linkages built here between our companies will turn out into fruitful partnerships in the near future that we will all be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I'd now like to request Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon, Minister of State, Middle East, North Africa, South Asia, United Nations and the Commonwealth and Development Office, United Kingdom, to address us, please.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, friends, namaste. May I start firstly in thanking the Confederation of Indian Industry, Chandrajit ji and to Dinesh ji, aapka dono ka bahut dhanyavad. Thank you so much for organizing and convening us today. Now, like many on the stage, I can talk about the deep relations, and I will, between Bharat and Britannia. But like many people, as a politician, we say, you can talk the talk. Can you walk the walk? Well, you have a Minister of State at the Foreign Office, my good self, who has strong Hindustani heritage, with a mother from Jodhpur and a father from Gurdaspur. But you know what? We want one better. We decided also to have a Prime Minister who equally shares strong Indian heritage. So I hope you'll excuse me and my dear friends and colleagues on the front here, that we don't only talk the talk, we actually walk the walk as well. And being here is demonstrable of the sheer strength of the relationship with the United Kingdom and Bharat, but also across Europe, and the strength of the representation here from my friends and colleagues at a ministerial level demonstrates the sheer strength of the partnership, but also the affinity for India. Now, it was only a few weeks ago that I was in India, and I was attending two quite distinct flagship summits on both trade and investment. The first, the Tamil Nadu Global Investors Meet, and the other, the brainchild of the Prime Minister of India, Vibrant Gujarat. And it was incredible. I saw firsthand how dynamic businesses are pioneering innovation, boosting sustainable growth. This is made possible through the close partnerships between countries. And frankly, in these quite turbulent times, these testing times, and perhaps pretty unprecedented times that we see around the world, it is more important than ever, I would argue, that trusted partners, friends, work together. The United Kingdom and India are doing this through our 2030 roadmap, agreed by our respective Prime Ministers 3 years ago to deepen our valuable partnership even further. And as the world's fifth, India, and the sixth largest economies, the United Kingdom, the future is ripe for opportunities for shared prosperity. And a critical part of this is our mutual ambition to double trade by the end of this decade. When we look at our relationship, we define it by our people, and the people-to-people links is an essential component of the relationship, the modern, vibrant partnership and friendship between India and the UK. Progress so far has been positive. Trade between our two countries is worth more than £38 billion annually. Indian companies in the UK employ more than 100,000 people and boast a combined turnover of more than £50 billion per year, whilst the UK is the third largest investment source for India, with over 600 of our companies operating here, supporting over 650,000 jobs. And thank you to many in this room who are part of that crucial link. I mentioned innovation and the value of innovation. As some of you may know, India's Tata Group announced plans last year to invest billions of pounds into the United Kingdom, building a new factory for electric vehicle batteries. This is one of the largest ever investments in the UK's car industry, creating new jobs and really turbocharging our switch to zero emissions vehicles. Again, a joint Indian-UK collaboration. Elsewhere, our work with India on important evolving issues such as artificial intelligence, including through India's chairmanship of the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, is both important and ever increasing. The United Kingdom is the capital of AI across Europe, with a thriving ecosystem that enables companies to grow fast. The Minister for Investment inaugurated Genpact's new Artificial Intelligence Centre in London last November. But we will not rest on our laurels, and together we want to go further still. And that is why we are working, as I speak, on our work towards an ambitious free trade agreement and bilateral investment treaty that works for both countries. And Minister Goyal, thank you. I know your teams are in London as I speak. This will boost our trading partnership even further, set our nations on a firm path of mutual growth, and show the world that India and the United Kingdom are both serious about global trade, but very much committed to prosperity at a global level. India is projected to be the world's third largest economy by 2035. Its demand for international goods and services is expected to grow rapidly. And as India's middle class grows to 250 million consumers by 2050, greater access to this market would be a huge boost for UK firms. For India also, the UK is home to world-leading talents and skills, as well as universities and an education system that meets the dynamic needs of global employers. The UK is a leader in digital technologies and champions innovation through research and development. And it is clear to see the enormous opportunities for Indian businesses in the UK, bringing huge benefits to all our people. That is why gatherings like this are so important and so welcome, because they send an absolutely powerful signal to the world that countries come together. As we collaborate, we are determined to strengthen our partnership in the years to come, working together, growing together, and prospering together. Therefore, in wishing you all the best for the rest of the conference, I leave you with new friendships and connections, fresh ideas, and great enthusiasm. And then when it comes to the UK-India partnership, there's one other unique benefit we have, and I offer my colleagues and friends from our European nations the offer of both India and the United Kingdom. We also have the link of cricket. Cricket defines our nations. India's doing slightly better than we are, but it's a friendship, another bonds of sports. And of course, I look forward, Peter, anytime you want to come over from Budapest, I'll be welcome to take you over to Lord's. But at the end, in thanking all of you for your participation, it's great to be back. And to you, respected Sri Piyush Goyal ji, ब्रितानी सरकार से भारतीय सरकार को बहुत प्यार भरा नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to invite His Excellency Dr. Martin Kocher, Federal Minister of Labour and Economy, Republic of Austria, to address us, please.
Minister Goyal, President Dinesh, Chairman Banerjee, Thank you for the invitation and thank you for hosting this year's conclave. Dear fellow ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm particularly pleased to be here today on the second day of the India-Europe Business and Sustainability Conclave to present you the Austrian perspective on its economic engagement with India. I feel very special today as the only Minister for Labour and Economy among lots of foreign ministers, European foreign ministers. Jokes aside, I'm very happy to be here. It's actually the year where India and Austria celebrate its 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations, and I would like to emphasize that this relationship has traditionally been very warm and friendly, and Austria and India have worked together very closely. India has become an ever-increasing, or has played an ever-increasing role in the global economy. India has been cited as one of the bright spots in the economic landscape this year, but not only this year. India has shown up consistently as one of the high-growth major economies of the world for a few years now, and that's very promising. It's a reflection of the important reforms having taken place over the past few years in multiple areas, in infrastructure, in digitalization, and in other reforms. The Austrian and Indian trade relations have been very promising. The two-way trade in goods have more than doubled over the last 10 years, and it will be up to almost 3 billion euros in 2023. The last figures are still outstanding. Austrian exports to India have increased by a large margin, but also Indian exports to Austria. There is increase also in non-goods trade and services. So for instance, between Austria and India, the increase was 43% from 2022 to 2023. Indian trade in ICT services has grown by 58% in the first half of 23 to 2022. So you see, there is lots of momentum in the relationship when it comes to economic cooperation. But there's also untapped potential. I believe that the complementarities and potentials between India and Europe, and thus also Austria, are enormous, and which I believe have been underexploited in the past, and it can be realized. There's growing recognition of these untapped potentials in sectors such as smart and green cities, energy transition, and sustainable transport, which align with the initiatives of both governments. As such, Austria views India as an increasingly important partner in the global economic landscape and a significant player in fostering trade relations. There is a lot of other examples. Let me just give you a few examples of the bilateral potential. In April 2023, Minister Gadkari, the Minister for Road Transport and Highways, came to Austria to convince himself of the Austrian expertise in the roadway sector and took a cable car from the city of Innsbruck to the largest nature park, which is just a few minutes train ride away. Another successful example is the collaboration that is found in the semiconductor sector. Austria has one of the largest semiconductor sectors in the world when you relate it to the size of the country. It's number one in Europe in terms of turnover, revenues, and research expenses per capita. I would like to bring to your attention that the Austria Country Roundtable held just before lunch, which features the strength of Austrian companies, was very successful. It was about high-tech, sustainability, green tech, smart tech, and manufacturing leadership, and all these areas are very promising in my view. Let me close in saying that in times of global uncertainty, strengthening ties with countries committed to the rule-based order, such as India, is crucial. Geostrategic challenges have reinforced the EU and thus also Austria and India's common interest in ensuring security, prosperity, and sustainable development based on shared values. India has realized that Europe is a partner of choice for many of its mid-century ambitions. Both India and Europe are committed to combating climate change and reaching net zero and sustainable development. The successful conclusion of negotiations of the India-EU trade agreement will be a key moment in taking the partnership to its full potential. I'm hoping to see that democratic powers forging a deep and wide relationship across the economic, technological, and political spectrum. Let me also add sports and cricket, that can come to a center of stability in an unpredictable world. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency. May I request His Excellency, Mr. Peter Szijjártó, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Republic of Hungary, to give his address.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Minister, dear colleagues, let me express my appreciation for the invitation and for the possibility I can address this really distinguished audience. As we are gathered here for this CII meeting, we have entered the age of dangers, and I think this statement is not an exaggeration anymore, given the fact that during the last 5 years we have been confronted with 3 major global crises, and although none of them was stemming from economy, but all of them ended up in a global economic crisis. And we did have to announce the launch of a new economic world order 3 times. 3 times in 5 years, which is definitely crazy. As one of the impacts of the pandemic, the supply routes have been disrupted, the borders have been closed, there have been massive layoffs and many corporate bankruptcy. The war in Ukraine and the EU sanctions implemented against Russia basically have made the high level of Eurasian cooperation impossible, and a multiple decade-long concept of predictable European economic growth is over. Namely, the combination of easily accessible, cheap Russian energy sources combined with the highly developed Western technologies work out no more as a couple. Instead of that, many European countries buy energy sources from alternative sources, or still from Russia, but by a third country. The conflict in the Middle East had very important economic side effect, namely paralyzing the transit through the Suez Channel, which ended up in the east to west product deliveries taking much longer time, being sometimes totally unpredictable and more expensive, as the vessels do have to go around Africa. And in Europe, we definitely do not need another external factor which would end up in extensive increase of prices. The skyrocketing energy prices were way enough for us Europeans, which then ended up in skyrocketing inflation. We don't need another external factor which would end up in increasing the prices of products in Europe. But, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all these conflicts and political tensions and these growing tensions in the international political arena bring forward a serious danger, a serious dilemma. And this serious danger or serious dilemma is that there's a chance, unfortunately, that the world is going to be divided into blocks again. And I'm coming from looking from here, small Central European country. Central Europe, a region which was loser of those times when the world was divided into blocks recently. We in Hungary have lost 40 years of our lives as we were suffering under a communist dictatorship, when the world was divided into blocks. We were oppressed by the East and neglected by the West. And we don't want to be losers again. So therefore, we Hungarians continue argue against the world being divided into blocks and in favor of an age of connectivity to come. Connectivity instead of being divided into blocks. But in order to enter the age of connectivity, we understand there are two very important preconditions, and none of them is easy to be reached. First, that mutual respect should return as a principle to international politics. We are pretty far away of that. The second, that hypocrisy and ideologizing the practical questions should both be replaced by common sense and rationality. If I want to put it another way, I would say that the gap between political communication and reality should be narrowed quickly and extensively. Because now this gap between political communication and reality is too big. Let me give you just 3 short examples. I hear my colleagues in Europe very often speaking about need of decoupling, which is a very polite way of putting isolation of Eastern and Western economies. But what the reality is that the key companies of the European industry, Western companies, are totally dependent on the supplies from the East. And I know it as a Hungarian minister responsible for investments, because I see the biggest German automotive companies and the biggest Chinese supplying companies move to Hungary next door to each other. Or there's another gap between reality and political communication. The European ban on importing oil from Russia. What we see is that Russia's share in imports of oil in India has increased from 0.2% to 30%. And in the meantime, Europe became the #1 customer of oil from India. Or a third example, we are usually under heavy pressure to cut our cooperation with Russia on the field of nuclear industry. But what happened last year? Russia became the #1 supplier of the United States when it comes to uranium. So, political communication and reality are currently too far away of each other. And we have to narrow this gap in order to be able to avoid the world being divided into blocks again. And in this regard, I would like to express my respect to India and to the government of India. Why? Because India has always been very vocal, supporting fair global trade, enhancing global connectivity, applying rational approach, and going against the over-politicization of international organizations. We need this kind of rationality in international politics, which is being represented by India and the Indian government. And Hungary is the country which is going to take over the presidency of the European Union for the upcoming half a year. It does not make happy everyone in Europe, but this is the regulation. So from 1st of July, we are going to be the presidency of the European Union for half a year. And during this term, we would like to improve the European Union-India economic cooperation in a way that we would like to restart the negotiations about the free trade agreement between the European Union and India, which would be to the mutual benefit of both sides. And we would like to start we would like to start the negotiations about the investment protection agreement and the agreement on protecting the geographic indicators. And we have agreed today with your foreign minister that during our term we will convene finally the session of the Trade and Technology Council. And I do hope that all these moves will contribute to a tighter and more effective India-European Union cooperation in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency. I now invite His Excellency Mr. Krišjānis Kariņš, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Republic of Latvia, to address us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a little humbled. I'm listening to all the really good speeches. I took notes and I'm listening to, do we talk the talk or walk the walk? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know much Hindi, I don't know how to play cricket, and the only people who play cricket in my country are the students from India who are introducing the sport, and Latvians are watching and trying to understand. So no, we don't have that kind of a tie. But if you want to go back a little bit in history, to the history of languages, of Indo-European languages, check it with your linguist friends, but you will find that of Proto-Indo-European, as a language developed, Sanskrit and the two Baltic languages, Latvian and Lithuanian, are most closely related. So our roots, somewhere way back there, are the same. Sometime, I think, before cricket was invented. But I guess we're all birds of the same feathers, what I'm trying to say. On a more serious note, I think what everyone on the panel is saying is that we from Europe want to work with India for all of the obvious reasons, all of the reasons that my colleagues have already stated. There's geostrategic reasons, reasons of diversification, reasons of like-minded, rule-loving economies finding ways to work together, and it's no different the way I see it from Latvia. So we are a small country by all accounts, less than 2 million people. I looked at the statistics in terms of, how many people per square kilometer. My country has 28, so you have to kind of look for them. India has over 400. You don't really have to look for them. You could say, well, it's a very small place. But remember, Latvia is part of the European Union, is part of the same over 400, 450 million market that my colleagues are speaking from. And what you have in Latvia, also as a country which was occupied by the Soviet Union, we were incorporated into the Soviet Union for 50 years. And when you have lost your freedom, the right to choose where you want to live, there's no private capital, no banking, it's very difficult to describe. And when you regain that, it's like being underwater too long and taking in that first really deep breath of fresh air. And that's what my country has been doing for the past 30 years. For the past 20 years as part of the EU and NATO, we have been quietly building up a surprisingly resilient and dynamic economy. And what's unique about Latvians is we all think outside of the box because for 50 years we didn't have a box to think in. There's no set way of doing things because the set way was the Soviet system. That's gone. So what you find in our country is people and therefore companies that are all the time pushing the envelope. We don't have many companies with thousands of employees, but we have thousands of companies with tens or hundreds of employees that are very advanced in a number of fields. And one of these is the world of digital or electronics companies. We have very successful companies in Latvia exporting successfully also into India. In the 5G technology in Latvia, we have a military polygon for a 5G testbed where many companies are finding that very interesting to develop new products. In the field of energy, we were very heavily dependent upon the cheap Russian energy sources which were mentioned. We've gotten completely away from those, and we're moving full speed into renewables. We are close to, we're over 40%, we're going to 50% of our total energy consumption in renewables. And that means we also have companies that are developing technologies in biomass to methane, in cogeneration, et cetera, lots of opportunities there. And in terms of the wind energy, we have a company, small, but it's rapidly expanding. It is the world leader in providing robotics for the maintenance of wind turbines. It sounds very specific, but this is exactly what business in my country does sound like. You find technologies that has a robot that can actually stay on the turbine as it's turning and do its work. People can't do that. You have to shut it down, and it takes more time and costs more money. But you have a company that figured out and is ahead of the curve of all competition of how these robots work. And it's quite simple. They just had hundreds of them fall off until they figured out how not to have them fall off. And also my country is surprising, this continually surprises me. We are quite active in the space industry. That is, of course, together with the European Space Agency. So we have companies that are part of the Lunar Gateway project, the Hera mission, and the EU space surveillance and tracking. And these are just a few examples that when you think of Latvia, think of innovation, think of going beyond or outside what the set way is, and think of a country which is very hungry to learn and to grow. And we've been working for 30 years in the European Union, strengthening our positions there, and we are now in the stage of going outside, looking for partnerships elsewhere, and as part of the general European initiative to further our ties with India, Latvia is also very interested, and I invite all of you to take a second and closer look also at my country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. I now request His Excellency Mr. Juraj Blana, Minister of Foreign and European Affairs, Slovak Republic, to give his address.
Excellencies, sorry. Excellencies, dear Minister, dear colleagues, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank you for this organizing conference. It is a tremendous honor to be here and to present also my country, Slovakia. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure for me and my delegation to be a part of Indian European Business and Sustainability Conclave. Slovakia welcomes the opportunity to exchange a new idea and its experiences with the Indian partners. This is why I have brought with me the group of more than 20 Slovak companies active in the railways, defense, IT, and other industries. Their B2B meetings here will be followed up in the forthcoming days. Ladies and gentlemen, last year was very successful for India and for the bilateral relations. Our ties are stronger than ever, with 4 foreign ministerial level interactions in the past 2 years, more high-level engagement than ever before. For Slovakia, India's courage, determination, and perseverance in achieving the planned goals is a great inspiration. We admire India's Chandrayaan mission to the moon and the skillful management of G20 presidency. Since 2018, we have doubled our bilateral trade with India, reaching a commendable 820 million euro last year, and we think that we will reach more than 1 billion the next year. However, we believe there is still room for growth and active seeking opportunity for greater investment and establishment of the new joint venture. In a promising development, several Slovak companies have expanded their operation into India within the past year. Notably, these companies are making significant investment in India, including the construction of biofuel factory in the Uttar Pradesh and the railway manufacturing plant in the West Bengal. These joint ventures are expected to generate several thousand jobs in India, fueling economic growth and fostering closer ties between our two nations. Slovakia, as a member of the European Union, is interested in deepening the EU-India strategic partnership. The priority of the Slovak Republic is to successfully conclude a well-rounded free trade agreement, investment protection agreement, and EU-India agreement of geographical indicators, as was mentioned before. Important role is our relation will be played by EU-India Trade and Technology Council, established in May 2023 in Brussels, focusing on strategic technologies, connectivity, green energy, and promoting trade and investment between the two nations. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to accelerate our business and investment. Hence, we support EU-India initiatives. All these are a great benefit to us, and they will help us to cooperate closely on India's digital transformation, India's green energy transition, and help to boost trade and investment. Ladies and gentlemen, the world becomes more volatile and less predictable. India is an essential partner for Slovakia in the maintaining stability and security. Our countries are natural partners, sharing values and economic ties. India is moreover a critical global player, especially amid shifting geopolitics. We fully support India's leadership in securing sustainable Indo-Pacific supply chains open to all. We have ended year 2023 with encouraging momentum, and we are following it up with this inspiring event. I thank CII for conveying the Indian and EU business technologies and ideas. I'm looking forward to my upcoming bilateral meeting with the Minister Jaishankar, raising a dialogue and panel discussion and interaction during my visit here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure and honor to invite Mr. Piyush Goyal, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution and Textiles, Government of India, to deliver the keynote address.
A very good afternoon to all my colleague ministers, excellencies on and off the dais, all the very distinguished participants of the second CII India-Europe Business and Sustainability Conclave, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, colleagues, for all the generous and at times very candid comments that we've had on the panel today. Of course, Lord Ahmed, England and India can continue to compete in cricket and fight for various titles, but we must not forget that we have Cricket Shop Europe from the EU marketing that cricket gear to both of us and making a good amount of economic outcomes out of the cricket that you and I play.
Make it part of our FTA.
Well, in fact, Germany makes a lot of cricket gear also. We have Sports Hive making cricket gear and sending it to India and to England. But truly delighted that CII has continued with the tradition of having this wonderful engagement amongst European countries and India. I distinctly remember my first visit to this conclave last year. I think it was the 1st of March last year. And the energy that I saw in the room, the very thematic discussions focused on very significant themes, the country roundtables, and the fact that it truly helped each other understand the differing economic, political, and social conditions between India and the European countries plays an important role when we are looking at expanding our ties between Europe and India. In fact, to continue somewhat what we heard from many of my colleagues, the Honorable Prime Minister had very rightly said, and I quote, "Wheel of time has turned and a new era is knocking at our doors." The India is being looked upon today as a center of possibilities. And I do believe that over the next 30 years, where India will offer to the world a very large young population, our average age will be less than 30 years, even 30 years from today. And this large pool of talent, skill, manpower, full of enthusiasm about a better future for their families, aspirational young India is going to provide the opportunities, is going to provide demand, is going to provide a demographic dividend, which I believe will hold this relationship in good stead as we continue to grow our economic partnership, our geopolitical engagements. And I must say, it's really nice of CII to have helped showcase India's development journey and share insights from the various European countries' perspectives with us and provide us this platform to get to know each other better, understand each other better. Because truly, India and Europe are trusted partners. We believe in each other. We believe in growing together. We believe in prosperity for the people of Europe and India, working as partners, as brothers, and engaging with each other towards more free, fair, equitable, and sustainable partnerships. In fact, today is International Mother Language Day. Very often we envy the European countries that they've been able to maintain their local languages, their mother tongues, as the language in which they do business, as the language in which they work. We in India have several local languages, and being a diverse nation, have several mother tongues across the country. So you may have Punjabi in Punjab, you may have Tamil in Tamil Nadu or Malayalam in Kerala. Different parts of India, rich in diversity and celebrating different languages is a part of Indian tradition, a part of our culture, and we believe that that also helps us understand and respect other languages, other people from other parts of the world. This linguistic diversity within India, in a way, also showcases the different parts of India and what we have to offer from across the country. Over the last 10 years, India has been a story of grit, determination, and focus on providing for 1.4 billion Indians, providing them with the basic necessities of life, be it food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, better connectivity through infrastructure, be it digital infrastructure, be it physical infrastructure, roads, highways, port connectivity, airports, inland waterways. Across the spectrum, India has been working towards meeting the needs of the common man, of the people of India, and also simultaneously strengthening our macroeconomic fundamentals, transforming the mindset of the nation, engaging with the rest of the world from a position of strength, from a position of confidence, learning our lessons from the challenges we faced, be it the COVID pandemic, be it the conflicts, whether in Europe or in Israel, and collectively as a nation, 1.4 billion Indians have resolved that by 2047, when we celebrate 100 years of independence, as we work as a team with a sense of duty to progress the nation's prosperity, as we work together to shed the last vestiges of colonial rule that do persist in some parts or in some minds, as we learn from the lessons of history and make the nation more united, more integral as one nation, as we provide more opportunities for our women folk. And for us, it's not only giving them opportunities, it's women-led development that the nation is working towards. As we work collectively to engage with the rest of the world, expand our international relations, we believe that we are preparing the nation with strong macroeconomic fundamentals on the one hand and a large, young, aspirational pool of talent wanting to take this country towards greater levels of prosperity. The next 30 years, a young India with an average age of less than 30 years is going to add by 2047 $30 trillion to our economy, taking us from the 5th largest GDP in the world to the 3rd largest GDP in the next 3 years, and working towards inclusive and sustainable growth. We have today a new sense of enthusiasm to manufacture in India, to design and innovate in India, to become a hub of economic activity for other parts of the world who today do not find large markets in their own countries, who cannot find enough work people in their own countries, who have aging populations, dwindling populations, countries where cost of manufacture is becoming uneconomical. We offer in India a conducive business climate where we focused on ease of doing business, where we focused on reducing compliances, working as partners with businesses across the world, with a very strong and robust regulatory mechanisms in place. In fact, our central banker recently got adjudged the best central banker by a reputed international organization. We have a very strong stock market, possibly the 4th largest in the world today, and vibrant with public offers coming in and day out, growth in the Indian public markets far outpacing the growth in any other market of the world. More and more Indian companies giving very good returns to their stakeholders and shareholders. Today, India is the 2nd largest internet user and the fastest growing e-commerce market, the 2nd largest mobile manufacturer, the 2nd largest two-wheeler manufacturer. We are probably now one of the largest personal protective equipment gear manufacturer. A lesson we learned when we were helplessly stuck, dependent on other countries for PPE kits or for rapid testing kits or for vaccines. And when the rest of the world did not come to the aid of India, India embarked on the path of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India, converting the crisis into an opportunity, challenging the people of India to meet the needs of India. And I'm happy to say that this change in mindset, this change in the way we view our own ecosystem, this consciousness of quality, this consciousness towards being a part of the effort to keep the climate clean, towards sustainability, to be a part of the global effort to make the world a better place to live in, is bearing fruit for India. While we in India always believed that we as a people are trustees of the earth that we inherit, and it is enjoined upon us to leave behind a better planet for the next generation. And consistently, India always respected the environment. India respects nature. For us in India, we even pray to the seas, to the wind, to the sun, to trees, to every living and non-living part of nature. And therefore, India continues to be one of the smallest contributor on a per capita basis to the mess out there. We are not responsible for the mess in the first place at all, and I can assure all the participants, India will continue to be a very responsible nation when it comes to the global effort to make the world a better place to live in. We are confident of the future. We are confident to continue to provide political stability, decisive leadership. We are confident that a nation which has adopted the philosophy of reform, perform, and transform, a nation which offers to the world the 3D vision, which is backed by democracy, demography, and demand, a nation which is a part of several international engagements, be it on the geopolitical front, be it on the economic front, a nation which will be a gateway to India with unlimited potential. From technology to sustainable development, we offer huge growth frontiers to our partners. Recently, we hosted the G20, one of the most successful G20s with over 100 outcomes, a consensus document finalized on day one. Despite all the global turmoil, everybody coming onto the same page. During that, we also launched the Global Biofuels Alliance. We also launched the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Both these initiatives will, I am certain, going forward, help the world to be a better place, help the free world, the democratic world, to work with each other through transparent and fair play in our trading systems. Of course, many participants mentioned about the various free trade agreements that are currently under negotiations. I can assure you, India negotiates with fairness, India negotiates with an open mind, but India also takes care of its wider and larger interests in the long run. We believe free trade agreements or bilateral investment treaties or agreements on GI, geographical indicators, will have to stand the test of fair, equitable, and balanced agreements considering the different states and the state of play in different regions, different countries. One will have to respect the very different opportunities that are offered by India vis-a-vis the offer on the table from other countries. One will have to recognize that being the fastest growing large economy, growing at 7% on a real constant price basis, but nearly 9 to 10% even today on US dollar nominal GDP basis, an economy poised to become a $35 trillion economy by 2047, an economy which has a young population, full of aspiration for the good things of life, demand for goods and services, which will help us reach there, but will also open up a huge set of opportunities for businesses across the world, will have to balance its interests and what opportunities one gets on the other side of the table. One will have to look at the profile of both sets of negotiating teams to ensure that agreements are fair, agreements bring balance to the table, and certainly there can be no better business or economic opportunity than India in the next 3 or 4 decades. We will continue to unlock new growth frontiers, whether it's renewable energy, where we are making rapid strides. We crossed our Paris commitments 9 years ahead of schedule. We are one of the best performing countries when it comes to the Paris Agreement at COP21, probably the best amongst all the G20 nations. We continue to expand our footprint in renewable energy and also innovate and start manufacturing green hydrogen, not only for India's needs, but for the needs of the rest of the world. We are adopting artificial intelligence and modern technology. We are working very actively to promote electric vehicles and make them a compelling economic and business case, not on the back of subsidies as most of the rich and developed nations of the world have done, but on the back of a purely economic business case which is attractive for our consumers. We are focusing on making our healthcare one of the best in the world. We have a huge talent pool of doctors, caregivers and nurses, paramedics and technicians who can not only help serve India's interests, but also help serve the needs of the world, particularly given the age profile that we find in large parts of the developed world. We are developing our automobile sector in a big way with a deep focus on electric vehicles and invite companies from across the world to look at India, the large demand in India, the large opportunities and the cost-effective manufacturing that we offer. Our pharma industry makes us proud that we can become the pharmacy of the world in a much bigger way than what we already are, because we can provide medicines at prices which will be affordable for the rest of the world, may not be possibly easy to digest for the large pharma-driven economies who are selling maybe COVID vaccines at initially $30 a vaccine, and even in the worst case going down to $18 a vaccine, to accept an Indian vaccine at $1 a piece. But that's the reality of tomorrow. The world is looking for competitive quality products, and that's what India can offer. And I do hope going forward we'll be able to help your pharma companies also produce in a competitive and affordable manner to serve the needs of 7 billion people around the world. We are actively engaged in various initiatives to promote waste to wealth for a sustainable future. We are very, very much focused on developing circular economy and smart cities in India. Friends, let's build tomorrow together. Let's build upon our synergies, be it in technology, sustainability, education, and so many other areas where we can work together, we can work as partners, we can work as friends. I am confident our enduring partnerships will ensure the shared prosperity and a bright future for all the European countries and India, for the people of Europe and the people of India, and together we will recraft the future of mankind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a token of appreciation for our esteemed guests on the dais. May I request you, sir, to do the honors, please? In the order of speaking, you can, His Excellency Dr. Tobias Linner. His Excellency Mr. Vladislav Tofil Bartoszewski. Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon. His Excellency Dr. Martin Coker. His Excellency Mr. Peter